to be pleased with that drive today. There must be a huge sense of relief and happiness that you were able to do such a good recovery drive, and you looked like you were on top of this car today.
I definitely felt on top of it today, and I was really happy with it. I think it was a really good launch. I got squeezed between a couple of cars, so I had to back off. But then after that, I was really happy with the position, and I had into turn 1 and into turn 4, and after that the overtaking, and then obviously I got really close to George. I think probably in hindsight we should have probably tried to undercut him at that point, but going long just didn't pay off, and I think that's something we'll learn from. But otherwise, to move after the penalty to get back to 6th, I'm pretty grateful, and to be able to have a solid drive like that today in front of the Tifosi, it's unbelievable driving here under this banner.
Have you thought about going up on the podium and seeing them all? Have you done it?
I didn't deserve to be on the podium today, so I won't be going to the podium, but I'll probably go out to the wall and see them.
What if I told you that Lewis Hamilton not only came to Ferrari to win races, but to change everything from the inside? What said he left Leclerc ice cream and in absolute silence to all Maranello? Today I tell you why his statement in Monza could be the most important breakdown point in Ferrari's recent history. The Italy Grand Prix 2025 arrived with expectations. Ferrari ran at home in Monza, a circuit that is not only a track for Tifosi, but a symbol of national pride, a cathedral where any error weighs double. And that pressure was more alive than ever. They came from an unequal performance in the first races of the year. They had shown flashes of competitiveness, but also strategic errors, technical doubts, and an uncertainty that already generated whispers in the halls of Maranello. In that context, everyone expected it to be the weekend of the rebirth. That Hamilton, the new project banner, and Leclerc, the emotional soul of the Scuderia, will lead to SF25 back to the podium in front of a red tide of thousands of fans. But what should be a rebirth became an uncomfortable revelation. Lewis Hamilton, far from seeing himself as the pilot frustrated by the results or the accident in the previous race in Zandvoort, appeared with a disconcertingly serene attitude. Talking about the problems of the SF25 is to fall short if only technical failures are mentioned. What happens with this car is not simply a design that does not work. It is the direct consequence of a chain of decisions that reflect a chronic pattern within Ferrari, the constant search for innovation without a solid base that supports it. A team that has historically oscillated between genius and self-destruction makes the same mistake again. Change for changing without first questioning why the above failed. Worse, Ferrari's filtered internal telemetry showed devastating data. In Zandvoort, in 2 sectors of the layout, the car lost 90% of the time compared to its main rivals. And not by engine power or by pilot errors. Simply, the car could not keep in touch with the ground effectively. Tire wear, overheating in medium-load curves, and the inability to respond in a coherent way to strategy changes showed what Ferrari had tried to hide. This car is poorly designed from its DNA. And this is where Hamilton's statement charges a deeper dimension. Because not only is the car performance questioning, he is questioning Ferrari's culture. A team that has been in a spiral of poorly managed perfectionism for years, where each new project promises to be the definitive solution, and ends up sinking by basic errors that no one dares to confront. Where the pressure to win converts each technical decision into a high-risk commitment, and each failure in a search for guilty instead of structural solutions. Hamilton's phrase, insinuating that the problem is not only the car but what happens within the team, is an evening criticism of work style, internal communication, to the lack of coherent leadership. A non-explicit complaint, but much more powerful than any radio claim. Because when a pilot like Hamilton, with 7 titles on his back, with years of experience in a winning structure like Mercedes, he begins to talk about necessary changes or internal obstacles, he does not do it by chance. He is seeing from within what many suspected, that Ferrari has not learned from their mistakes, and that as long as he continues to prioritize the image on the execution, the titles will continue to be empty promises. And in the midst of all this, there is Leclerc, trapped between being the team idol and the silent witness of a project that falls apart from the inside. While the car does not respond and the team does not change, Hamilton has chosen another path. Expose the truth, although it hurts. In the world of Formula One, sometimes the most powerful is not what is said, but what is silent. And in Monza, Charles Leclerc's silence was a deafening scream. The Monegasque pilot's reaction to Hamilton's statement was not aggressive, not even defensive, was a vacuum. An emotional immobility that, in any other context, would have passed as a simple indifference, but in the atmosphere full of Monza, he felt as an alarm signal. A man who has been carrying the emotional responsibility of an entire country, of a legendary team, of millions of tifosi, was left without words. What Lewis Hamilton did was not simply to launch a criticism. It was to place a mirror in front of Ferrari and in front of Leclerc. In that mirror there was no image of leadership, ambition, or evolution. There was an image of wear. Of a talented pilot who has been giving everything of himself in an environment that seems to be built to wear it. Leclerc has defended the team at the worst moments, has celebrated in moderation in the good few, and has maintained an unwavering commitment profile. But when his new partner, a 7-times champion, says that the real obstacle can be inside the team, Leclerc has no answers. Only a rigid face, an absent look, and an uncomfortable presence that says everything without emitting a single word. That silence was not only personal, it was institutional. It was the reflection of a structure that no longer knows how to respond to failure without repeating the formulas of the past. In Ferrari, historically, noise has been synonymous with pride. Strong statements, grandiloquent promises, and headlines that seek to feed the narrative that the Cavallino is about to return. But this time there was nothing like that. This time, the bomb did not come from outside, wine from within, and nobody knew how to deactivate it. The most disturbing thing is that Hamilton's statement was not an emotional explosion. It was a calculated, almost clinical comment, with the coldness of someone who understands how transformations are built. And that is precisely what most concerns Ferrari. Because they are no longer facing a pilot who needs the car to work well to perform. They are facing a leader who can use the political, technical, and emotional environment in their favor. A competitor who learned in Mercedes to handle more than a steering wheel, to handle narratives, to handle pressure, to handle equipment culture. The reading inside the paddock was unanimous. Hamilton is sending a message. No to fans. Not to the FIA. Not to the press. To Ferrari. And within Ferrari, especially to the technical dome. He is telling them that he has not come to adapt to the system. He has come to change it. And that change begins to unmask what does not work. In this emotional chess game, Leclerc was momentarily in check. Not because it has lost its value as a pilot. Not because your talent is lower. But because it has been part of the culture that Hamilton is questioning. And that puts it in an impossible position. Defend what is no longer supported, or embrace the change that could relegate it. This moment is not just a communication crisis. It is a battle of philosophies. Leclerc represents loyalty. Hamilton the change. Ferrari, once again, is trapped between its glorious past and an uncertain future that demands hard decisions. And the silence of Monegasco for the first time does not sound for respect. It sounds like resignation. Are you trying to change Ferrari from within using your experience and reputation as a lever? Or is he protecting himself, preparing his elegant departure from a project that does not go anywhere? Both possibilities are disturbing. Because if Hamilton is right and the real problem is embedded in the team's very structure, then it is not enough to improve the car. Ferrari would have to be rebuilt from its base. Change not only the suspension, motor maps, or compounds chosen for classification. Would have to change the way in which it makes decisions, the way it responds to failure, the way in which it lives with pressure. And this is where the question that many inside the paddock are beginning to be done in a low voice comes into play. Does Ferrari have the value of listening to what Hamilton is saying between the lines? Or will he take refuge in his pride, in his history, in that epic that has been shielded so many times but also shackles? The Leclerc-Hamilton case is no longer a promising pair to become an uncomfortable dichotomy. Two different visions of what it means leading, competing, and evolving. Two pilots who, beyond their driving styles, are sending opposite signals about how the Ferrari challenge should be faced. One is silent, the other breaks it. One represents continuity, the other change. And the most tragic is that perhaps both are right. And at the same time, none have the solution. Formula One is ruthless. Do not wait for anyone. It does not reward the intentions, only the results. And if Ferrari wants to go back to the top, he will have to do something that has never been easy. Look in the mirror, recognize his failures, and let the truth, however uncomfortable he is, transform his DNA. Now it's your turn. What do you think of all this? Do you think Hamilton is helping Ferrari evolve or is generating a break that will be irreparable? Should Leclerc take a clearer posture or stay as the silent balance in this internal earthquake? Let it know in the comments.